Hello, hello, and welcome back to another episode with Julissa Edwards on Mindset Mastery Podcast. Today, I had the pleasure of interviewing Roswitha Herman. She is a two-time best-selling author, a six-figure coach that lost it all, 2 years homeless, caregiving for her very sick husband, and battling chronic illness. She rebuilt her business differently with capacity, nervous system regulation, and real community. Now she helps women stabilize 10K months by clearing the money blocks no strategy alone can fix. So without any further ado, enjoy this episode. Thank you for being here today, girly. Good afternoon to you. It's a morning over here for us. How are you feeling today?
Hi, Julissa. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so grateful to be here.
Your story is one of incredible resilience, which speaks a lot about your character and also where you currently are on your path and your career, on your journey. So, you went from being a six-figure coach and best-selling author to losing everything, facing homelessness and rebuilding from scratch. Praswita, can you share with us what that experience taught you about success, healing, and self-trust?
Phew. I think one big thing that I've learned through that experience was that I'm not my things because I was very attached to my things. I love luxury. I'm not obsessed with luxury, but I do love to buy nice things. So, and it kind of was always not sacrifice, but it wasn't easy to buy certain things. And when you got it and then it's yours and it kind of gives you a status, or it made me feel certain things, or it made me be someone. And then when I had to pack everything, and I still have most of my things in storage 3 years later, because I was homeless for two. It's like it stripped away my identity. So I thought the worst thing, my two biggest fears was like ever, or that I would go homeless and that I would have to move in with my parents. Both came true in 2022. Unfortunately, I didn't live with my parents for a long time, just for a couple of months. But that's the lowest place I could go. Like there's nothing worse than that. And after I survived that, I realized that okay, I survived it. It's not that bad. It was bad, but it's like it's not, I didn't die.
Right.
Second, I was able to rebuild who I was aside from material things. I was like, okay, if I'm nobody because I don't have my things in my beautiful apartment, because that's what I thought. Like literally for almost 2 years, I thought I was nobody because I was like, why would people want to work with me? Because I'm nobody now. Like they only want to work with successful people. Like in my mind, that was a thing. Like they only want to work with people who are flashing big things on social media. Here I am homeless.
Mm.
Like I'm not flashing anything. And all the nice things that I have are in storage somewhere because I cannot get to them. So who would ever hire me? So it was a
And
lot of work. Sorry.
a quick question. Was it the same line of work that you were doing before all this happened that you're doing now?
Yes, yes. It's just that
Okay.
now it's more deeper. So before,
Okay.
I've always done manifesting, money coaching, business coaching. This was always my jam since day one, 10 years ago. It's just that after this whole part of my life, I had to go deeper to like, okay, I know all these tools. Here I am. I lost everything. I'm super depressed. I'm very sick. My husband is dying. I was
Oh.
trying to figure it out that I was like trying to save him because that was the reason why we got homeless in the first place. I stopped working. So I became obsessed with trying to heal him because nobody could help us. Like doctors were like, there's nothing we can do. We don't know what to do. He was on IVs. And I was like, I was just freaking out. Literally, I was freaking out every day. So I became
Oh.
obsessed with reading everything like about autoimmune and what do we do. And I even took medical classes because back then was still COVID. So everything was online. So I was able to sign up for certain classes just to understand better how the body works and how digestive works and all these
Wow.
things. And I was just obsessed. Like literally, I was just upset. I couldn't eat. I lost a lot of weight myself too. And I was super depressed as well. So I think it gave me focus to just focus on him, like just focus on him. It gave me some sort of purpose. And
Mhm.
then he didn't die, so that was nice. Unfortunately, even now, 3 years later, he's still not functional, so he still cannot do anything that a normal person would. But I still have
Okay.
faith that he will get better. So I'm not gonna depress you guys. He's gonna heal. But yeah, so that's why I didn't make any money. I was the only provider for years, like since, which is a very weird story. My husband got sick after our honeymoon, so our whole marriage he was sick. So for
Wow.
better or worse, I got the worst of it since day one.
I appreciate your candidness and for sharing that with us. And I do hope that your husband heals. And I know we just started talking and you and I don't even know each other that well yet, but my heart goes out to you, girly, and it does show a lot of your beautiful heart and your character of, you sign up for marriage with the person that you love, you have this picture, and then something changes. And so yes, for better or for worse, you've been there, loving, loyal, if anything, fully immersed in your love for him and educating yourself. So again, we're just getting to know each other, but I can already tell that you have a big, big heart. And I'm sure that extends to all the work that you do as well. So the question was simply, all of those things happen. You face homelessness. What did it teach you from those
Hmm.
experiences?
So the first one was the attachment to things, which I had to let go and build, not to build my identity, just find my identity without things.
Yeah.
The second was going deeper. So as I mentioned, I was doing the same work, but it wasn't at the depth that I'm doing now. So I actually learned to
Mhm.
channel things, which I was never that kind of person. So don't get me
Not
wrong, I
even.
believe in woo woo and all that and manifest. I was always a fan, but certain things that I couldn't see, I thought was like, I don't know. Like I believe and I don't believe. I don't know. Especially that I graduated first in my class as an engineer. So I was very,
Mm.
real oriented, give me, fact stuff, like hard
Yes.
things. I was always fascinated by physics. But again, so that was another huge thing for me. In that year, I also started working with a therapist. As I said, I was very low.
Yeah.
And she was doing also these theta healing, which is where you go into a theta healing, like theta wave, brainwave, and that's where you can access any thought, anything you can see. It's a very interesting thing. And I had huge resistance to that. But again, I was in such a vulnerable position that I was just like, I will try anything. If you can fix me, just let's do it. I don't know if we can
Yeah.
swear, but sometimes I drop some
Okay.
F-bombs.
It's
Okay.
okay.
So as I was doing that work with her, it challenged again a lot of my beliefs. Like, is it real? Is it true? Are we even doing anything? Like, it was such a hard thing because I didn't believe in it, but I wanted to believe, but I wanted certainty. Like, I needed proof. And then I think 6 months later, on my birthday, actually, that year, I just felt called to read more books about this methodology. And I read a few books in like 3 days. Like, I read day and night. I was like, again, I sometimes become obsessed with certain things. Like when I feel like I have to do something, I just become obsessed with that. And
Sure.
that's how it started. And since then, I've developed my own methodology because the books and the courses that I took with these methodologies, I felt didn't give me the results that I wanted. I don't know if it makes sense. Like when you try a new technique
Mm.
and then I'm obsessed. So I practice for hours every day for months. And I saw that it didn't move the needle in my reality that much. And I was like, I believe in this, but at the same time, it's not working. So why is it not
Mm.
working? There must be something. So through study and through asking and through all these things, I realized, oh, in this methodology, they only say there are like 4 levels of where your blocks could be: DNA, soul, past lives, and the core, like what you were brought up in this life, like all the limitations that your parents, education, culture has
Right.
enforced on you. And I was like, but what if there are blocks on other levels as well? Because here we are, I was doing somatic work, so that's we have nervous system and we have
Yes.
fascia. I was like learning about fascia too. I was doing that. And I was also sick. So I'm like, but we also have cells. We also have organs. Like all these things. Don't we maybe have some blocks on those parts too? So as I was
Mm.
learning about it, I was like, yeah, we do. So then I started to practice on myself. And I could see that when I would, let's say, find a fear, and then I look on every of these levels. Does this fear exist in myself? And not every fear exists on all levels, but big ones they do. And then when I would release them, I would release from everywhere. And that's when I saw my reality shifting very fast. And that's when I knew this is the thing. This is the thing that was missing. And now I'm kind of almost fairly certain that that's my mission in this world. Like the mission was for me to find myself, to find my gift, and to develop this, to take this method to a new, more in depth. And I'm not saying this is for everyone because it's not, as you know, there are different degrees of people how they can be helped. Just like you don't send a 5-year-old to university, they might not get the
Absolutely.
lessons. But for people who have tried many things and they still feel like something is not working, then this
Mhm.
work would be for them. For people who are beginning, maybe they should try with EFT tapping and hypnosis and like things that
Right.
after they master those and they see
Yeah.
results and they're like kind of saturate those things, maybe that's when they try deeper work because you also need to have a certain depth, like a
Yes.
certain awareness. Nothing
Yeah.
heals for you unless your mind, your conscious mind has understood the blessings of it. Like we're
Mhm.
not broken. Even people who are sick, like my husband is not broken just because he's sick. There's a reason why he's sick. Like there's a
Mhm.
big lesson in that sickness. There's so many blessings in that sickness. So the moment he fully becomes aware of all that, he will heal fully if it makes sense.
Yes.
But first
Yes.
you need to become mentally aware of all your blocks, like how is this helping me? How is this protecting me? How is this giving me purpose? Like even any
Yeah.
fear that we have might give you the motivation that you had to accomplish things. So you might say now, oh my God, I don't want this fear. Yeah, but if you fully understand this fear, you will see that this fear made you successful. So we want to
Mhm.
understand it and consciously want to shift it with something else. Like when we release anything, kind of exchange it with something else. Exchange it with something else that's better for you right now. Like maybe if you use hustle to get success and it worked, but at one point it didn't work anymore because it was too much and then he got sick or whatever. Then we cannot be like, oh my God, hustle is wrong. Like the need to hustle is like the worst thing that can happen for you. Get rid of it. Yes and no. Maybe at this point you wish to install something else in your need to hustle. Maybe that it's
Mm.
safe for you not to hustle and still have success, or how would that look like? But we also need to be aware of the blessings of you hustled in the past.
Let's talk about that because I feel
Okay.
that a lot of coaches run with that ideology. So I love your story, by the way. You're very good at sharing your perspective and what you've learned, and I love the science and how you respectfully geek out on certain things and like you really really go hard and you learn all the things and it wasn't working for you and you're like there's got to be something more, and I think that is also very much, yes, a gift and your purpose of doing that because somebody else just like you needs to know that missing link, right? So my journey a little, just to give a background, in reference to my next question for you, I went similar to you. I studied, I studied to be a therapist, but similar in the ways that it's clinical, so it's very black and white. Everything has to be backed up by science. So I completely hear you on the woo woo stuff. I'm like, explain it to me. At least that was how I was in the beginning. Or I'll say this, I was always maybe curious and found it interesting, but I always thought that's so cool that you can do that. I was like, that won't happen for me, or I've never experienced anything like that. So I believe it for you, but I've never seen it kind of energy. And then fast forward to when I transferred from being a therapist to a coach online, I had a business coach who was very, very spiritual and kind of introduced me to all that worlds of woo and manifestation. And I was obsessed. And, the truth is for anyone that's listening, is that we all have these abilities within us, right? It's just a matter of, are you open to it? Do you want to tap in? Um, I've gone through a huge thing of like working with individuals that are very very religious. I still do, and I do my best to educate that none of this is demonic. There is just energy, and for me, if we do want to bring it back to science, energy is scientific 1000%, right? So I love as a therapist teaching emotions through frequency that can be measured. To me, it's fun. I like to geek out on it. I like to teach those things, so I love it. And so I went through a period in my career where the pendulum swung for me. And so, from going from very black and white clinical evidence based things that I would teach my clientele, then entering the coaching world and being like, whoa, similar to what you said before, I've worked with coaches that took me way further than any therapist has ever taken me. And that was a pill to swallow for me of like, oh, you don't have to have your master's. I'm not saying that you shouldn't, but there are different ways of teaching and healing, and some people just have a gift, right? I will also say that now doing this for about 6 years, being largely in the online space, I also see the other side that sometimes can be problematic. I don't think you're one of those individuals at all, but sometimes some coaches, it's like, no, this person needs, you have to meet the client where they're at. no, this person does need traditional therapy. Like, like they shouldn't be doing a coaching program like this. And so, all that being said, you mentioned how you like your clients to have a deep awareness, a deep knowingness, so that they can go that deep with you, right? And I fully understand and believe that too, because the work that you're doing is different. And it's beautiful and it's complex, and there has to be somewhat of nervous system regulation, intuitiveness, knowingness, knowing that you desire to go deeper. Because I always say this too, the deeper the dive, the higher we rise. But sometimes that dive is deep, and you also have to have the bandwidth to hold that level of depth.
Mhm.
Correct. So my question to you, girly, is how do you decipher who's appropriate for your practice?
Well, first, I have to share my values. That's very important to me. So, here it means transparency, honesty, and kindness. So, they need to be honest with me. And I don't like, for me, and it's very rare. Like, I have to say this, people are not used to communicate honestly. They're used to communicate what you think you want to hear, but not what they actually feel. So, for me, it's very important that people can say, hey, this is what I feel. This is what I think. Okay, let's figure this out. Not just like love me, but I'm like, even when there's a problem, I want you to tell me there is a problem. This is what I feel. Let's work through it instead of you saying I'm fine or I'm okay or I'm not having a great day, but it's okay. I'm like, no, that's gaslighting. If you're not having a great day, let's talk about it.
Wow.
Like let's talk about. Be honest with me, especially because I'm supposed to help you. You're not here to impress me. You're not paying me to impress me. You're paying me so I can see the full you. Maybe nobody does that. Maybe
Yeah.
nobody in your friends or family have ever seen you that's quote unquote broken or sad or on the floor. And that's what I'm here for. So
Yeah.
use me for that. So this is very important. The second is depth. So depth here, they have to have worked with other people. They have to have done self-development on themselves. So when we talk, we speak the same language. I'm very
Yes.
versed. I'm very advanced in this. I'm not taking
Yes.
kindergartens no longer. I don't work with beginners. I've done that. I feel like I'm at a space like after 10 years of coaching hundreds of women, I'm at a space when I really, and I only take a few people every year, so 4 or 5 clients a year. So imagine I
Oh
don't
wow.
work with hundreds of people in my one on one. So I want to work with people who speak my language, are on the same level, but they just need my gift, my eyes, my compassion. I'm very compassionate. I can hold people through anything. And that's also because of what I've been through, because I had to figure out a way to become compassionate. Like there was no other way. Like especially for me, I was a perfectionist, type A, super rigid, all these things. Like I couldn't survive without being able to love myself and accept myself, even like that. Because that
Mm.
was very hard for me. So I believe that compassion is you have to experience it in a way. You cannot teach it, you cannot learn it from books. You have to go through life and embody that. Otherwise,
Hmm.
it's just fake. It's just nice words that people say to be liked, to be loved, to be appreciated. But it's not
Yeah.
felt. And you can feel somebody if they've done the work. It's just like you can feel it when you talk to them. You know they've done a lot of work on it. You just feel it. So that's what I'm looking for in people.
Yeah, I would say it's grounded, like peaceful, loving. I think honestly, love. I always state like love is the most potent and powerful thing, and if you truly embody that, there's no harm, and you can communicate all things through love. So I completely hear you on that. I remembered my question that I really wanted to talk about. So you mentioned earlier hustle, right? Replacing that belief with like maybe we don't have to hustle and we can still be successful. In the era of online coaching, that's a big one, right? It's a big one of like, delete the masculinity. We can just I'm not saying this is what you're saying, but let's say from the outsiders looking in of the world of Instagram, if you follow a lot of coaches, it's like you can rest and make all this money and you can just frolic in the land and make all this money. And it's like, okay, I've had my own journey with that being coached, being in the online space. It's why I said earlier my pendulum swung. Like I went from rigid clinical studies, black and white theories to la 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 la. Oh my God, look, I'm making all this money and da, 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 like and I had to recognize my own patterns in that and why I was also swept away by that. I did have a lot of success initially. What I didn't understand then was that it was because I worked my butt off. It was because I studied so much. It was because I was seeing 40 clients a week as a therapist. Like I studied people. You know what I mean? And then, sure, I gained all the successes thereafter and I was able to rest more then, but it wasn't necessarily the rest that made me money. It was my knowledge, my expertise. I had worked my way up to that, right? And so now these days, I definitely honor my rest much more than I ever even did as a clinical therapist in the past. But I also honor the hustle. I also honor different seasons of life, and hustle may just look different, right? So I want to hear your intake on that, Rosvita, because
Yeah, this is a great topic. So, and I'm actually super stoked that you opened this Pandora's box because I have opinions on this topic.
yeah, please share them.
So I'm gonna use some hard words. Of course, I don't take it literally, but I kind of hate certain things in our online space right now. Not just now, in the last couple of years, with people who are joining the coaching space, looking at it as a cash grab, get quick, get rich quick scheme. They're not going to
Yes,
admit that to it, but that's what they want. Like that's what they want.
right.
It's like you can just become a coach with no certification, or just you do a modality, you get a certification in one modality, and boom, you can work with people, you can charge high ticket, and you're going to be a six-figure owner overnight. And
Yeah.
while this can be true and is it happening, I don't find it ethic. I don't believe it's ethic. I don't believe that's how it should be. I believe there's a reason why people should charge more money, and that should be not based on how courageous they are and how quote unquote confident
Say
they are.
that
I
part.
believe
Yeah.
it should be out of experience, out of knowledge, like out of how many people have you worked with. Like if I hear somebody charging, I don't know how much money, and I'm like, how many clients have you helped so far? Like if you haven't worked with at least 100 clients and you're charging high ticket, I'm sorry, but no. And I don't mean
Yeah.
you have to have perfect clients, like all clients have to be in love with you. That's not what this is about. But you have to have worked with bad clients, good clients, amazing clients, meh clients, because
Yeah.
that builds your experience. You know how to talk to people, you know how to hold people, you know when red flags are, like, how do I, get out of this?
Right.
Otherwise, you're just charging a high ticket for what? Just because your coach is charging you a high ticket and you have to pay her and survive. So that's what I'm seeing. Like that's literally what I'm seeing, and I'm not liking it. Because I'm
Yes.
sorry, but those people can, and that's why so many people are so disappointed in coaching. Because I look at certain influencers online who are doing all this, they're very against manifesting, they're very against, coaches who do woo woo and stuff because they don't believe it's true. And I understand their perspective because that's why I'm watching. I'm always watching other people who think differently than me to just see, okay, where's the truth? Because the truth's always in the middle somewhere. And of
Right.
course, if you have worked with coaches like these who have, they're not a therapist, so they're not they haven't learned to work with people. They've never went
Mhm.
to a coaching school. Like I literally coaching school. Like I went to coaching school 10 years ago. Like I had to have 700 hours of coaching to become a
Okay.
coach. Like before I charge anything, like that's
Mhm.
work. I had to work to become better at it. And some people are not, or even in my modality now. So I master a few modalities that I combine. But in one of them, I saw people who, this is, as I said, is very deep. Like you need to hold the space for people. We talk about traumas, and so many people do a course in this modality. They start having clients, but they're not educated in. They're not therapists. They're not coaches. Like when you
Mhm.
work with somebody, and please, everybody who's listening, if you allow your mind or your emotions or your subconscious to be in the hand of somebody else, make sure they are trained in working with people. Otherwise,
Mhm.
it can be extremely, extremely dangerous. And I don't know how to scream this louder
Yeah.
because it can damage you so way because whenever we go to work with somebody, we're in a vulnerable position. Always. That's why we try to work with a coach or with a therapist because we're in a vulnerable position. And if that
Right.
person doesn't have abilities of a therapist, doesn't know, has never been educated. How do I hold the space exactly? How do I communicate? What words do I use? Any word they would use, it could damage you further because you're like a sponge. You're like you bare,
Mhm.
you are naked, and every
Yeah.
word could be another wound. Even they don't want to. They want to be nice. Like they don't try to harm you. They're not bad people. They're just not
Not
educated to do that work.
correct. Yes, I want to. So I always tell, I have a big heart too. And when I work with clients, especially those that are extremely vulnerable with whatever they're going through in life, I always say, and I always hope that people understand me when I say this, but I have the opportunity to fall in love with that person. Think about that level of vulnerability, and you're allowing yourself to go there with me. How could I have anything but love for you? And so now there's this energy happening both ways where you're entrusting me so much with this information. And I too am holding you as tender as possible while also being a coach and doing what I have to do to help you, navigate and get to the next point. But that's a very, very strong energy. Like you were saying earlier, you could be sharing this only to me and not to anybody else. So you think about, partnerships, relationships. Normally you do that with someone that you hold to the highest regard, that you trust, right? And so that level of bond, I for sure do not take it lightly. I literally always tell my clients, I get to fall in love with you. And I take that very, very seriously because I also know, like what you were saying prior, my words do hold great weight. And so it's not of, oh, you have to know what the right thing to say is. That only comes with practice, with time,
Exactly. And that's why
right?
you charge more money as you work with more people, as you've been doing this for many years, because you get better and you get faster. Like I can do releases now in a few minutes and release so many things for my clients, but a year ago, I could do that in an hour. Of course, now I'm charging more. It's just, but that's what I'm saying. Price should follow experience, expertise,
Yes, depth,
results,
depth
yes
of,
and no, because results don't necessarily are just, I don't believe results are just the coach's benefit. Like, oh my God, you work with that person and that's why you got results. No, results is because of the client.
yeah,
Like
season
some
of life.
clients, yeah, it's like, but expertise, experience, how you hold the client, that's why they get the
Yeah.
results because you know how to hold the client, but it's not because of you. Like, oh my God, because of me, the client made K. I supported them, but they made it. Like they actually had
Mhm,
to sell. They
mhm.
actually had to show up. They actually had to convince themselves that it's okay. Like all these things they had to do, you know? So that's
Yeah.
another kind of caveat here that I am constantly battling against with myself because, everybody's like, post more testimonial. And I'm like, I'm always like weird. I have this weird feeling. So I'm like, yeah, these are my clients, but they're also great people. It's not just because of me, like and it's like
Mm,
and we don't see this duality online. It's either, and even the worst thing that I see is the same person posting the same testimonial on the same day for two different coaches, and I'm like, make it make sense.
for
I've
two
seen this
different
happening a
coaches.
few times.
What do
So
you
somebody
mean?
is working with a coach. They're gonna go in their
Uh-huh.
free community and praise this coach. Because of you, I made six figures today, and I'm so grateful for your coaching. And then the same person goes on another community and say, because of you, another coach that she's working with, I got the same results
Mm,
without explaining, because you can work with multiple people at the same time, but you can explain what you
right.
took from each one. So because of you, I got, I don't know, my confidence. Because of you, I got my business strategy. Because of you, I got my health, and that helped me create my 20K months. But when you use
Mm,
the same testimonial for multiple coaches on the same day, no, like no less, it was so obvious because it was the same thing on the same day for two different coaches from the same client. I was like, that's so fake. It's so fake.
mhm, mhm.
It's not authentic. It's not real. It's not like,
Yeah, could have misled intrinsic desires as to why they're doing that too. Okay, I have a question. So you work greatly with money blocks, and
mhm.
you dive deep with your work, and so it's beyond just the conscious level of like, what did my parents teach me? What have I learned throughout my own life? That can be a part of it, but it's deeper than that. Can you share with us how it can manifest or show up in the body, in our cells, past lives, your induction or experience with spirituality? Can we go into that conversation? There comes a point in time where doing more isn't the answer anymore. You're juggling a lot: work, relationship, responsibilities, expectations, and you already know this isn't taking more things off your plate. It's about learning how to carry what's already there differently. The Mindset Mastery Method is for individuals who recognize how they handle stress, emotion, and pressure will either make or break them. This program isn't about hustle. It's about emotional regulation, leadership, clarity, and confidence from the inside out. Inside MMM, you'll learn how to regulate your nervous system instead of living in overwhelm, communicate clearly and confidently, move through burnout without shutting down, create consistent, aligned action towards your goals, and understand yourself deeply. So decisions feel grounded, not forced. After MMM, you won't just know what to do, you'll trust yourself enough to actually do it. Doors close soon. This is the last opportunity to join this container with me live. If you're ready to stop surviving your life and start leading it with clarity and confidence, this is your sign. Apply now with the link in the show notes. I'll see you inside.
So you mean how it shows up as an example when you're blocked, like how your life is looking, or what do you mean?
With the clients that you've served, what do you see as a common pattern? Once someone has already done the work of understanding their conscious reality of like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I grew up poor, or I grew up with this, or et
Mm-hmm.
cetera, et cetera, and
Okay.
they're still not yielding, let's say, results. What do you find is the next usual step, or what do you teach your clientele? How to dig deeper? How does that look for you?
So first, my clients are usually successful at this point, the people that I work with. The problem is they cannot maintain that level of success on a monthly basis. So for example, they would have a big month, but they cannot maintain that every month. So they
Mm,
will always dip down or and it's always going to be this pressure and this fear of will I ever make it again? And confusion of why is it not working now? Because I feel like I'm doing the same things, but some months is working, some months is not working. So that's one. The second
mm,
is they're very aware if they have to work on the same fears over and over again. Like this was something that I noticed like years ago with even big people, like big coaches in our industry, they would be like, well, every launch, I just have to work on the same fears. It's just normal. That's what everybody does. And for me, I was like, why? Why would that be normal? And then as I was doing my method, I realized, well, that's not normal. That just because you haven't released that fear, though those fears on all levels. So of course they come back because they were never gone. You were just able, as you do mindset work. So that's why mindset work is not enough. As you do mindset work, you manage to convince yourself to take action even though you're scared. That's what mindset work is all about. But that doesn't
mhm.
mean you have released that fear. You're just able to convince yourself to take action in spite of the fear. And because the
Yes.
fear was never released completely, every time you have to do a big thing, you're going to have to convince yourself again to take action. And that can happen every single month. And that at one point becomes very
Exhausting.
challenging and frustrating. It's like, I'm this amazing human, this amazing coach. I've worked with so many people. I've had success. Why do I still have this fear? And then they hear it online. Well, it's normal to have this fear. And they're like, okay, it's normal. So I just have to do this work over and over again. And I'm like, no, you don't. We
Mm,
just have to identify and investigate on what other levels still exist and release it. So it might be in your body, it might be on your past life. And I don't go very deep with past lives. It's not my thing. I know people who do regression and stuff. I don't do that. I always ask God, I ask, do we need to know what happened? Like, is it in our best interest right now to know what
mm,
happened in a past life? Sometimes we do, but just like there's like a lesson, like for example, some people have been in wars or they have been
mm,
very powerful and they've done something bad in a past life. So they carry the guilt of never being powerful again because it will lead to something bad. So I just ask, do we need to know why or do we need to know how it happened? And then usually when I tell the person what I see, sometimes even they're like, oh my God, that makes so much sense. I can literally relax when you said that. I'm like, okay, so that was something there. And usually I work
mm,
with people who are they're intuitive too. So sometimes they even tell me that they see things as I'm speaking. They're like, "Oh my God, I felt it in my body as you were speaking. I literally felt." It. I was like, "Okay, that's exciting. I love co-creating with my clients." So
mm,
that's the second part. The
got it.
third part, money block is not everything. So that was a big lesson for me. As I was releasing my blocks, I was still homeless, and I was like, I tested, like I muscle test. I knew I was like, I don't have any blocks regarding the income that I want. Why is it not happening? And I asked God. I had many conversations with God. I was like, I don't get it. If I'm supposed to do this work, is this work is working? Why don't I see the results? Like something is missing. And then the answer came is your capacity. You have no space in your capacity. Even though I didn't have a lot of clients, my capacity was at its max with my husband, the life where I was living. As I said, I didn't have space. I was homeless. It was not a very relaxing atmosphere.
Mm,
So I'm like, oh, okay. And that's when I became an expert at nervous system tracking. So I track nervous system. I don't just speak about nervous system because I don't believe, like, I'm not going to give my clients, oh, you should do this breathing technique or you should do this thing to regulate. What I do give after at least a month of working together, I'm going to give them, if they have a smartwatch, they're going to track the nervous system, they're going to give the data to me, and then based on the data I would tell them what meridians are not working in their body, and then based on that I would craft an energetic routine for them to do, which is Chinese medicine, like what meridians do you need to flush or press on certain points or do certain things, and then we check to see a month later, if you do this, what has changed in your nervous system. Not to mention, I talk to them about the water that they're drinking. That's such a basic thing that I didn't even know. Like I'm not above people. Like I didn't know about it, that the minerals in the water help your nervous system, help your fascia, help your meridians. It's all connected. So your emotional instability, it's not just because of money blocks. It's not just because, it's also because what you're drinking. It's about what you're eating. I sometimes, and that's why we can track. That's why it's not just, I don't just give my advice, my clients advice, random advice. Like, no, I look at the data and I'm like, so here, what did you eat that day? Or like, were you like, actually, I was so busy. I only ate once and I just ate some, like, it makes sense because you need a steady glucose in your blood. And because you were not eating, your body went into stress. So I'm like, you need to make sure you're eating every couple of hours. And then just like, it depends. Like I know so much because I was forced to know so much because I was sick myself. I was trying to heal myself and I am. Like I'm so much healthier than I've ever been. And at the same time, I'm so far away of where I want to be because I want to be super healthy, super fit, age backwards. I'm very proud of how youthful looking I am for my age. I'm not saying that I'm old, I'm not. But I'm really kind of obsessed with that. I'm constantly trying to biohack my my life and see how I can I get healthier and healthier and healthier. So I study this for pleasure. Of course, when I see my clients, I can give them, hey, based on your readings, like real readings, like just like my woo-woo readings, this is what you need. And sometimes I also see it when I go, like even for, like, imagine this for a client. I saw that for, I don't know for block we released, and I saw, I was like, you need to take vitamin C. It shows me like it's an urge. You need to take vitamin C. And she started laughing. And I was like, why are you laughing? Did I say something funny? And she's like, do you know what? I bought 4 supplements a month ago. I take 3 and the fourth I don't touch. Don't ask me why. I just have resistance towards. Yeah, guess what it is? Vitamin C. And I was like, you need it. Like I can literally see that you need it. So please take it. Or with other clients that I was like, you need to take this. I was like, I see this green powder. And I asked, I think it was chlorella powder. Like, you need to take that. It needs to detox your blood, like, and see it clearly. And she's like, you know what? My health coach just told me I should add chlorella to my diet like this morning. And I was like, well, you need to. I can see it clearly. It's gonna help you with your blood because her block was also in her blood. And he showed me, like, sometimes I can just ask for things to be released. Sometimes I see literally things that my client need to do, like you need to take a supplement or you need to take this, and they're free to take it or not. Of course, I'm just saying what I see, but it's super fascinating because it's all connected, like our capacity with money blocks, with our strategy. And coming back to hustle, what you mentioned, people who make it without, and saying that they don't hustle to make it, they have some sort of privilege of having been done business for maybe 10 years. So now they
Okay.
might start a new business,
Yes.
but they don't start from, even when I started from scratch, I didn't start it from scratch. I had the knowledge and I had experience. So
Yes.
it's not actually from scratch, it's just again, but it's not from
Yes.
scratch. So the same with that. Second, they might have privilege of being supported. It's not the same to have a husband or a partner who supports you financially, or you already have a
Yeah.
house that maybe your parents bought, or you already have a trust fund, or and then you can relax and just allow things to happen, compared to someone who maybe is a single mom. She has to take care of her family. She has to take care. She's renting. She doesn't own anything yet. If she doesn't make sales, they're not going to eat. So you cannot compare the nervous system of these two people and their
Yeah.
privilege.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not to mention the education that people got. I'm more
Yeah.
successful than people my age in my country because of the schools that I went to. Not because the school directly impacted my business, it didn't, but because I was among people that were wealthier, that thought differently, that
Yeah.
had different goals, different dreams, that
Yeah.
people my age from that went to poorer schools were not. So
Sure.
everything matters. That's a privilege.
Mm-hmm.
The privilege
Mm-hmm.
of having wealthy parents, of having wealthy grandparents, even maybe now you're not, but you come from a wealthy family, an educated family, even the privilege of having had family like grandparents who were educated or went to like university. That's huge. That's
Yeah.
like that gives you so much opportunity DNA wise. It's crazy. And not
Mm,
everybody has that. So when people say you can just relax and allow things, yes, you can if you have certain privileges. If not,
mhm.
you cannot yet. You will be
I
able to, but it's going to take some time or it's going to take some work.
And it shouldn't be a competition. So I love this theory because I very much resonate with it. And I took some notes because I want to hit on a couple of things that you said. So, with what we were just speaking about recently, I just saw online, I think it was yesterday, Billie Eilish, famous singer, she just donated millions to a good cause, right? And the post that I saw was her calling out some billionaires that have more money than she does. And she was like, "You're in the room too." She's like, "You could donate to a good cause as well, you know?" And, in the US where I live, there's a lot of, we have a lot of things going on economically in the government. It's a little bit of a mess right now. And when I say it's not a competition, like Instagram is media, right? It is a picture, it's a story that we are telling. And there's a lot of goodness that comes from that, a lot of creativity that comes from that. It's like you're directing your own movie. I think it's a form of creative expression. I love it. I love recording my life. That's just me, right? I love showing my children, my husband, my community. Like I find it's fun for me. And now that this is kind of going left, so let me not go over there. But I'm a very creative person and I like doing different things like that because it's fun for me. It doesn't mean it's fun for everybody. Some people are really shy. And so what I mean to say by that is just because we're coaches and we're doing it and we have this flexible lifestyle and it's so amazing, and it's amazing for me, right?
Mhm.
And also what you were saying prior with like what were the privileges that were set upon us, right? Whether it's education, parents, love. Did you have love in the house or did you have hate in the house? Right? Trauma in
Mhm.
the house. And so it's not fair for anyone to think, oh, if I work with this person, I can be just like them. No, we're different people. And yes, I can help you on some or many capacities, but the goal is not to be like me or for you to feel like somebody else that you honor or want to pursue. Everyone has their own journey, and as long as we're working to elevate and to grow, then we've done our jobs. But it is very, almost toxic to think they did it this way, I can do it. You have no idea what they've been through. You have no idea what they've studied, what they have learned. To go back to your other points before too, your 700 hours of coaching, beautiful, right? The coaching industry does tend to be very unregulated and kind of just like I have life experience, so I can teach from my life experience. And it's like I'm not going to doubt that or down that because sometimes your life experience most definitely gives you wisdom and insight. But what I love about your work too, and it's similar to mine, it's evidence based, it's data plus your intuition. You do need both. You do
Mhm.
need both. It's responsible to have both. Yes, you have no idea what that person went through. And so I think
And
it's
also,
really
sorry for interrupting here. I wanted to say here, when I say about privilege, and I mentioned this, I don't want to say it as, oh my God, let's hate on those people. I just want to use that as give yourself more grace and more compassion.
yeah,
If for you it takes longer, it's because you don't have certain privileges, and that's okay, but
and that's
accept where
okay.
you are and
Yes.
just accept that we're not all equals. I'm sorry, but we're not born
Yeah.
equals. We're not equals. But that doesn't mean we cannot have the same things. We can, but it also means that we might have to work more. We might have to take more time. But that's not a bad thing. I used to see it as a bad thing, like, oh my God, it's not fair. Why does it have to take double the time for me
Sure.
compared to somebody else? But at the same time, for my lineage, based on where I'm coming from, I'm much
Yes.
farther away than they could ever be. So
Yeah.
if I don't compare myself with somebody else, but with my ancestry, with where I'm coming from, then it's like, oh my God, it's amazing.
Yeah. Exactly. I think we should. So look, I have a conversation with my husband all the time too about like breaking generational trauma and being the best parents we can be for our children. And me and my husband come from very different backgrounds, in the way that we grew up and all of that. And I always tell him, if you were to stop doing your best today, you've done enough. From where you've come from where you are today, you've done enough, right? I'm not saying that I don't want to keep reaching for the stars, but lineage wise, you've broken generational trauma. You know what I'm saying? And so it's not that where I understand where you're coming from too, of like, what, even earlier in my like therapy days, social work is of like, I want to help everybody. It's like, yes, I do want to help a lot of people, but we don't have to pity people just because we have this and they don't. It doesn't mean that we have a better life. Like, we're just different people, we're on different journeys. And so I brought up the whole Billie Eilish thing prior because obviously she's someone who has great success and she has money for that skill set of her beautiful voice. That too is a gift. That too is a gift, and
Mhm.
she's utilizing that gift, and she's monetizing, and she's receiving for that gift, and that's beautiful. And she's also giving back, right? So everyone's purpose here is different in how we help the collective, how we help the world, how our choices better ourselves and that of others. And there's no competition, right? And I think that's what people sometimes overlook or don't really understand. It's like the healing work that you're doing, or the self improvement work that you're doing, if you're going to school, if you're getting a job, like whatever you're doing to better yourself is wonderful, as long as it's
Mhm.
good for you on your path. And hopefully you find coaches or helpers or healers or therapists or whoever, mentors that can help you get a little bit further, because we all need some support from time to time.
Yeah. I believe we need support all the time if we want to have an easy life. Like that's what I believe. Even now, I was ever contemplating on this morning. Like I need so much support now, just like I did 2 years ago when I was homeless. And I'm not homeless, and I live a very good life, and I'm very grateful now. But I still need so much support because I still have moments when I don't feel good. I still have moments when I doubt. I still have moments when I lose my like, will it actually work? I have those moments still, and I know
Mm,
why, and I can go on a rabbit hole only like how our microbiome is influencing our emotions. But again, it's not just money blocks. Even though I'm an expert in that, I really want to make people understand it's not just one or the other. It's like really a synergy. It's like work with people who can understand you in your wholeness. If you
yeah.
want to really be seen, you don't have to, like you can just work on
Mhm.
pieces at each time, and that might be perfect for you. But if you want to be seen totally and understand and make sense of your body and how your body and mind and all this woo woo and strategy, like physical strategy in your business, they're all connected, then come work with
Yes.
me.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, so let's get, so this is kind of organic segue. So at this point, Rosvita, can you share with us, you kind of already did, but some moments of vulnerability, because like you said, you are fantastic at what you do. And of course we're human, and we need support, right? In this season, I'm back in therapy. In this season, I've worked on and off with coaches throughout the entirety of my business career. We just need that support sometimes. So, what at this time, either are you currently receiving support for, or are you looking to find support for? What is something that you're navigating right now that you would like to feel more cared for at this time?
So, very vulnerable here. All year, I've been trying to find spaces or friendships where people are on a similar level in terms of they've been in business for a while. They have the same, business knowledge, and it hasn't been easy. I haven't found it yet. I've tried a couple of masterminds this year. I've tried a couple of business friendships that I was lacking that depth that I needed, like to really be able to talk to people who are the same level, who have the same depth, who do this, like they work on themselves, like not the same work as I do. I don't care about that. It's just like to be held. Like when I say something that I'm struggling in my business, I don't need you to coach me because I know how to fix it. I just need to quote
Hold
unquote
space.
fall apart and be seen as still as powerful. Like I don't need you to pity me. I don't need you to get stressed out for me. Like I'm not broken. I
Mm,
know how to fix myself. It's just that having that partnerships or mastermind where people can be like, oh yeah, that sucks. Of course. It's okay, that sucks. And we see you and it means nothing, but it's
mm,
okay for you to fall apart. And guess what? It's gonna work out. Anyways, you can fall apart just hearing those kind of words, but hearing from somebody who's actually experienced them, not just hearing for somebody who's never been there. So even though they say the right things, they're not embodied. Like I'm like, how can you tell me it's gonna be okay when you've never made this money? Or how can you tell me
mm,
my launch will succeed when you've never had a launch? You don't even have an idea of what it means to go through a launch, like the stress or the
mm,
emotions or the pressure or like I'm always looking for people who are honest. I've met people, but either they're not honest themselves, so they'll be like being there for me, but they would never share their things because they don't feel safe to actually look at their own vulnerabilities. And to me, that's like, okay, that's not a two-way street. So yeah, it's really hard. It's not easy to find these spaces where either I was in spaces where vulnerability was not that much appreciated, like it was from the outside, like it was marketed as that, but when we actually went
Mm,
into deep things, people freaked out because it was too much, like too deep, too open, too raw, too vulnerable, and it's like, okay, it's too much.
mm,
Or the conversations were too beginner, and I was like,
too shallow.
I want, yeah, not necessarily shallow, but like too beginner, like two people who have not had so much depth. They haven't worked on themselves so much to actually have different kind of problems. So then for me, it was like, oh, I want to be surrounded by people who get the level that I'm at. I don't want to give you advice for where I've been 5 years ago. That's what I do in my coaching, if it is. Like you can be my client then, not
Mm, I
my
hear that.
peer, if it makes sense.
Ooh, I hear that. Okay. You're looking for a friendship that is equal to you, and not because you think you're better than, but just someone who can hold space and
Exactly.
understanding for what you're going through. And respectfully, not someone that you're a little ahead of, not because you're better than, just because of your work and life experiences, that it does feel like mentorship instead of friendship.
Exactly, exactly. And
I
it's not
hear
an equal support. It cannot be. Like when you like that's why I like to connect with people who have six figure or multiple six figures, who have been in business for a while, who are open, who share the same values. So when we talk, we can just get each other, like we've been there, we've tried that.
yeah.
We have the same
A million,
worries
thousand.
sometimes, and
Yes.
because if people would be more honest, like everybody, not just people who are in the beginning phases or people when you're down, but I mean big people in our industry, if they would be more honest about their middles, their off days, I think we'd all be more compassionate towards each other.
Human. Yeah. Yeah. Um, I literally am I'm going live about that later today. But I think we would be great friends, by the way, so we can talk about that
Oh,
later. Yes.
perfect.
But I too value now more than ever. I think my journey of vulnerability, I used to be really ballsy in the beginning of my like coaching thing because I had nothing to lose, and I would kind of like put it all on the table. And then there was a point in my online career that I was like, oh, don't say that. Oh, I might, make somebody angry. And now I'm like, it's not so much that I don't care. It's the fact that if I don't share my truths, other people's truths won't be seen. And my truths is what allows others to also have the courage to have that for themselves, or to relate to those inner thoughts. And no, it's not perfect. I was telling my friend the other day, I try my hardest, and I'm like, please give me feedback. Like my friends, my audience, like people who follow me, like my clients, like I never want to make it seem I'm very blessed. I feel very privileged, blessed to be where I'm at in my life today. I have two beautiful children. I have a supportive husband. I love my business. I love the line of work that I do. I have the best clients. Life is pretty grand. Do I have challenges? Of course I do. Of course I do. But my success, it took work, and it still takes work to maintain it, right? Like I live a life right now where I work 6 a.m. to 11 a.m. and then I'm with my kiddos the rest of the day. I have to sacrifice going to bed early, waking up early, and that might not seem big, but it is. I have to squish my work hours, and I had to learn how to delegate better because I now work less than what I did last year. And so these are all beautiful privileges to have, working from home, stay at home mom, but it took a lot of sacrifices and hard work to get there, right? And still the mindset work of like the laptop closes now. Like if you didn't get it done, we can think about next week of like, where could I have delegated better? It's always self improvements, And so anyway, I'm kind of going on a tangent, but all that to say, I do think social media is a beautiful tool. Life in general. I just had this big awakening spiritually that people probably already know this, but for me, it kind of just made sense recently that social media really is trying to mimic real life, right? Like, look at this beautiful connection that you and I have here today, right? Because we're sharing our truth, because we're being vulnerable, and you're in a different country, you're in Europe, right? I'm over here in the States, and that's beautiful. We find each other online, like wonderful. That same synergy and connectivity and opportunity exists in the real world all the time. You just have to go out there and talk to people and share your truth, right? And then we can really see, are we aligned? And even if we're not, cool, glad to meet you. You
And
know?
actually, talking about that, so okay, I don't want to talk about politics, but I'm gonna just a little bit of tangent here. If I were to choose, I would be a Democrat, like if I were to pick a side.
Yeah.
But lately, what I noticed, like Candace Owens, so I watch her, and she's not a Democrat by any means. But the reason why I watch her, not because I agree with everything that she says, but because I love the fact that she's herself, and that's so attractive. You know, when somebody is just authentic, they're who they are. They don't care if I don't agree with her. And it's okay if I don't agree with her because I appreciate her honesty and I want more people to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah. I can appreciate that.
I don't agree with her, and it doesn't matter because I watch her for her spirit, and I think if we can all
Mm,
be more ourselves, and I'm guilty of that. I find it very hard to be myself in a 3 minute reel or a 1.5 minute reel. I find like how do I put myself in such a short amount and be myself? And I'm struggling with that. So if you have any opinion, I'm here to listen.
long
But
form
yeah,
content. This long form content is better.
yeah, I
Yeah.
love it. I just don't know how to do it consistently on IG.
I hear that.
But yeah.
But keep going. So yeah, it's Candace Owens. For those that don't know, she's very opinionated. And I would say she's not with the Democratic Party, correct?
No, no,
But
she's Republican, but she's leaning more into a central. She's no longer kind of just Republican. She sees that people are connected by the same big things. So I like that. I like that even more.
good for her. Yeah, yeah, she's very opinionated, but you were saying that you admire her candidness, and her, I guess, her courage to be who she is without any regrets.
Exactly. Exactly. I think we all appreciate that, like in people. Like when you
Yeah.
see them, it's like even if I hate you, I like you because you're yourself.
I don't want to go into politics, but that's how people see Trump. People are like, he's so crazy, whatever, whatever, but like he is who he is. People are
True.
people.
I didn't think of that. That's a caveat here.
Yeah, yeah. Honestly, for me, I feel like the part of me that I can relate to you and like the whole like friendship thing or the way that we see like the world, because even before I became a therapist, because of who I am, just in like intuitively, intrinsically, I've always been able to understand people no matter how bad they are, or no matter like it just for me, it's always like, well, why are they like that? Not because I'm judging them, but just because I want to understand them. And I feel like when we lack to understand, that's when separation exists, right? When we lack to ask questions or hold space. And it's like people, my career in therapy has also aided with this, but I did begin looking at life this way as a young little girl. And then when I went into the field, I worked with so many different families and people and locations and poverty and all the things and like horrible, horrible, horrible trauma, jail cells. Like I did it all, drug and alcohol abuse centers. Like I've worked in so many facilities. And what I've learned, and I always share this with my clients, is that everybody would love to be a good person. Nobody desires to be a bad person. Sometimes things happen to you. Sometimes you have a limited way of thinking. And I don't mean that condescendingly. Sometimes you're in survival mode. Like you have no idea what people's circumstances are and why they are the way they are. I'll share this one last thing, and then I want you to share how people can follow and find you. My biggest takeaway when I was a young counselor, recently graduated with my master's, I used to work in First, my internship was in that drug and alcohol abuse center. And it was in a certain town where I grew up. So it was like the people that I mean, I didn't know them, but like it was my town. And they would share all these horrible stories about their past traumas. And then I could understand like why their route led to violence, drug, and alcohol abuse. And then the kicker was that later on in my career, I ended up working for a homeless youth center where it was a youth runaway center. It was like a safe house where kiddos could go to if they were being abused, et cetera, et cetera. And the horrible part, or it was a good learning experience for me then, was the children that I would see, they were ages 12 to 18, so sometimes adults, older children. The parents that they were running away from were the ones that I used to serve in the past in the drug and alcohol abuse center. And so initially, I was so young, I was in my early 20s at that point. I was angry of like, oh my God, like, why would you cause the same pain that you had onto your children? And it's like, you can't help it sometimes. And so I feel like to say like You don't know where anyone comes from. It would be so much nicer. The world would go around so much better if we just took the time to listen to people's stories without judgment and just open your heart to people's lived experiences and try your best to understand. So,
Yeah.
and I feel like we can relate a lot on that. Yeah.
Actually, my biggest frustration always, like just like you as a kid and then now as an adult, was that I could always understand why people do things. And I felt like, but does anybody see me? Because I always understand why they do, because it's
Yes.
trauma, it's this, it's that. But like, does anybody see me? Because I'm always so nice and also compassionate. But at one point, it becomes like frustrating if you don't have the right support for you. Like in my case, it was for
Yeah,
me.
I felt, if you relate to this, I have felt wish-washy in the past of like, I never stand on anything because I can always see all sides of everything. And so it is really hard for me to like have a stance on something because I'm like, yeah, I see all sides.
Exactly, exactly. It's a nice gift and it's a mini curse at the same time.
Yeah, yeah. Roswitha, I've had so much fun talking to you. I felt like we have a heart-to-heart personal connection. I know the clients that work with you must be obsessed because I know you hold them so lovingly and you have beautiful intuitive gifts and the knowledge to back it up behind it. A beautiful mix of science and spirituality, which I love. So, how can people work with you? Who are you looking to work with and how can they find you?
So right now, I'm actually looking forward to getting fully booked for next year. So I opened my calendar for a few free calls every month for women who desire to have minimum 10K cash month. So maybe they've had a 20K cash month, but then it drops to 5 or to 8, or then it's like constantly wobbling, and they're like, I don't know why, or they know why, they get sick, or something happens in their life, and that's why they cannot show up, and that's why their income goes down. So it's like, how can we bring your minimum? Because we all have a money baseline. So that's our minimum that no matter what happens, we always hit that. That I know everybody can
Mhm.
kind of connect to that. So we're going to try
Mhm.
to be aware of your minimum now and then raise your minimum to 10K. So that will happen through strategy, that will happen through capacity, that will happen through nervous system regulation and tracking your nervous system, and of course, releasing all your money blocks that come up. Because as you implement new changes, you're going to have fears coming up. You're going to be triggered. And then you come to me with those triggers and we make sense of them. So I don't just sit down and be like, this is a list with all the money blocks you can have. You might not, just imagine this. You can have many toxins in your body and they don't affect you necessarily, but there are a few that might really affect you. So my job is not to release all your blocks. My job is to release just those blocks that right now are hindering your success or your life expansion. And we always know which those are based on what you get triggered. Like what triggered you this month? What triggered you this week? That's gonna show us what your blocks are, what your fears, what's your resistance. So if any of you are curious about that, go into my Instagram at Roswitha Herman. It's exactly how it's spelled. I think it's gonna be here or in the show notes, and you
Yes.
can do the click in bio or just DM me. Let's talk first. Let's see if if we would be a great match. And yeah. And every week I do live releases. So every Friday I have a show on Instagram Live where I release a money block from a special someone, and you can come and see exactly how we do it. Exactly, like every time is unique because again, each person is unique. So I never know what they come at me with. So either I coach them, we do regulation, we do releases on deep levels. Whatever happens is wonderful. So if you want to see it live, watch my show or watch the replays.
I love that. Beautiful. And that's long form content for sure. And that's consistent. So I love that.
That's
Yes.
true. That's true.
Yeah. 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 Okay. Well, I have had such a blast speaking with you, Roswitha. Thank you so much for taking the time. I am grateful for the universe for connecting us. And that's all, you guys. If you want to follow and get to know more about her, all the information is indeed in our show notes. And that's it. Bye for now. Thank you for coming with us here today.
Bye. Have a great day.
Thanks.